Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. Now if you're looking at this team lineup and thinking, what the hell's going on here? 6 versus 6, 2 carriers per side, is this some new kind of game mode? Nope, it is a random battle, but it's a random battle on the North American server, not the most heavily populated server to begin with, and it's almost certainly taking place either very late at night or very early in the morning, so the matchmaker is really struggling to put two full teams together. Well, it's failed to put two full teams together, that's why it's 6 versus 6. At tier 5, with 2 carriers per team. Justdags here in the USS New York is really wishing he'd picked his USS Texas instead. Although the New York's AA is pretty good, but the Texas's AA is fantastic, especially against tier 4 carriers. Now, most of you know I don't often feature low tier battles, mostly because, well, you can get to tier 5 within a day of starting to play World of Warships, and of course you don't really have any idea what you're doing, and so the standard of the gameplay is often atrociously bad. And yes, I know that the standard of the gameplay at tier 10 is often atrociously bad too, but well, I don't feel quite so bad about laughing and poking fun at tier 10 players who make boneheaded decisions, because they should know better. And while it can be amusing watching people who are new to the game making equally if not more boneheaded decisions, the comedy value is kind of lost because they're not really expected to know any better. Also, if you go lower than tier 5, a lot of the matches are bulked out with bots, and, well, it might be amusing once watching somebody getting 8, 9 or 10 kills when the enemy team is basically 2/3 bots and only 1/3 actual players, but that kind of thing gets old very, very quickly. There are no bots in this match though, although there are 2 carriers, and tier 5 is not a tier that is particularly well known for the standard of the anti-air defences on the ships involved. There are some exceptions, of course, with the Texas on the enemy team being a particular example, but the AA on the New York is not bad at all if you have the upgraded hull. Although if you do have the New York, which I actually kind of like, I definitely recommend going for the upgraded engine first, because 18.4 knot speed with the stock engine is just horrible. The 21 knot speed with the upgraded engines is still pretty bad, but it's at least fast enough that you can, most of the time, at least stay within shooting range of whatever it is that needs to be shot at. And when it comes to shooting, although we haven't really seen an example of it yet, the New York is pretty good. The guns are not particularly accurate, but it's got a lot of them. 10 14-inch guns in 5 turrets, although the firing arcs are pretty bad if you want to get all 10 of the guns shooting at the same time. You do have to give an awful lot of broadside, but the ship is well armoured, at least against cruisers. Cruisers like the Omaha over there, who Justdags has been shooting at unsuccessfully so far this entire game. But only so far. With the New York, it is very much a case of throw enough shit at the wall and some of it is eventually going to stick. 20 health remaining. I don't know if that's the luckiest or the unluckiest Omaha I have ever seen. He's managed to go undetected, which means that Justdags is gonna... well, unless he starts shooting, he's not going to have the opportunity to finish him off. And it certainly appears as if that Omaha at least knows the value of not being seen. However, he's about to get spotted by the Langley's dive bombers, not because the Langley's doing the sensible thing and sending his dive bombers against a 20 hit point Omaha, because the Langley is doing the worst possible thing and sending his tier 4 dive bombers, but Justdags is able to profit from the Langley's extremely dubious choice of targets, because the Omaha was momentarily respotted, allowing him to get that salvo off, get the first kill of the game, and claim the first blood award. Let's not celebrate the first kill just yet. Justdags has a slightly more pressing problem to deal with, in the shape of the French tier 5 destroyer, the Jaguar, who's rounding the edge of the island over there. Now, he is coming under air attack from the Hermes, but it's torpedo planes, not the best choice of aircraft to attempt to strike a fast-moving destroyer with. Justdags gives him all 10 barrels with armour piercing, because that's what he had loaded, but immediately switches to high explosive. And now the Hermes is trying to drop torpedoes on the Jaguar from behind. Well, he's only a tier 4 aircraft carrier player, we shouldn't expect too much. That is, of course, forcing the Jaguar to sail a predictable course. And now with the high explosive loaded. Disappointing. Not a lot of damage. Here come the first set of Jaguar torpedoes. He's going to take one. Enemy carrier trying to drop him from the front. Second set of Jaguar torpedoes. He takes another one, but he's going to be able to dodge the airdrop torpedoes. And while the high explosive salvo didn't do an awful lot of damage to the Jaguar, it did knock his engine out. And he appears to not have last stand. And his repairs are on cooldown? How can his repairs be on cooldown? He hadn't taken any... Oh well. New players. So, 2 kills, but only 33,000 damage because, well, Tier 5 ships don't have that much health to take. Both teams have 1 cap, but the 2 kills have put his team ahead on points, but Justdags is about to run into a much, much bigger problem. The enemy Texas. And the Texas has caught him in the middle of executing a turn to starboard, given a big, fat, juicy broadside to shoot at. Fortunately for Justdags, the Texas's shots largely land short. But the Texas definitely has the advantage here because he was turning. Most of Justdags' guns are pointing the wrong way, and thanks to those 2 torpedoes that he took from the French destroyer just now, the Texas is enjoying a nearly 20,000 hit point health advantage over him. The Texas and the New York are very similar ships. I mean, they should be, because USS Texas is a New York class battleship. There are differences, but they're not differences that are really going to matter that much in this fight, because they're mostly to do with torpedo protection, where the Texas has the advantage. But, well, the New York isn't going to be firing any torpedoes at him. The Texas also has much better anti-aircraft defences. In fact, it's got the best anti-aircraft defences of any battleship in the game prior to Tier 8, but, well, Justdags isn't going to be launching any aircraft at him. The Texas also has slightly better concealment, but, again, they're both spotted, they're both shooting at each other, so... But there is one advantage, aside from having, nearly 20,000 more health at the moment, that the Texas does enjoy over Justdags' USS New York that is probably going to make a bit of a difference in this battle. That midships turret, the one that Justdags in the USS New York can't really bring to bear on the target without exposing a suicidal amount of broadside, is set slightly further to the rear in the Texas, which allows the Texas to get that turret firing without having to give suicidal amounts of broadside. So not only does he have less health, but he's also technically outgunned. The one advantage that Justdags has over the Texas is that he's slightly faster, but really only slightly faster, like half a knot faster. So his chances of being able to outrun the Texas are slim to none. And so, while he's trying to figure out what to do about the Texas, he consoles himself by getting his 3rd kill of the game against the enemy Koenig, who, I mean, that looked like a very opportunistic kill, which is a polite way of saying a kill steal, and it was, but the Koenig actually had his broadside to shoot at and the Texas didn't, so that was definitely the right target to go for. At that point in time, the Koenig was the most dangerous threat, and it's always best to remove enemy guns from the game whenever you can. Now what's the Texas doing? Justdags did just get overflown by a couple of Hosho aircraft, and he shot a couple of them down, and that would have revealed the location of the Visby destroyer, who's over here with him. And I thought for a second there that the Texas had decided that, well, chasing after a New York is one thing, but chasing after a New York that has a destroyer with him, especially now that you don't know where that destroyer is anymore. And so I thought that maybe that had encouraged the Texas to abandon the pursuit. But it appears that no, he's just manoeuvring violently to try to avoid airdropped torpedo strikes. So, wait a minute. The battleship with the best AA in the game, below Tier 8, is having to manoeuvre to avoid Tier 4 torpedo plane drops, most of which are getting through. So, yeah, that's happening. Seems legit. I'm not saying a carrier shouldn't be able to get a strike off against a battleship a tier higher with the best-in-class AA it's ever going to face, but it shouldn't be able to get 2 or even 3 strikes off against a battleship a tier higher with best-in-class AA. None of those airdrop torpedoes have hit, of course, but that's not really the point, is it? In fact, you might ask yourself, why are the carriers attacking the Texas in the first place? I mean, the enemy Langley's been spotted. And while the carriers bombs and torpedoes don't appear to actually be getting through. The torpedoes launched by the Visby that took the opportunity to sneak down the narrows there between the two islands and catch the Texas on the other side have been hitting home. And the Texas is on fire and possibly also flooding, and no longer has that big old health advantage, and he's given a nice big flat broadside for Justdags to shoot at. And that was a very nice hit. Also, the Texas's guns are all pointing in the wrong direction. Well, right direction, wrong direction is all a question of perspective. The Texas's guns are pointing at the Visby, which is the wrong direction as far as Justdags is concerned. And it's a case of too little too late as far as the Texas is concerned, because the Visby's torpedoes were already on the way. One of them has hit. He's managed to stop the fire and possibly also the floods, but he's not going to stop that barrage of 14-inch armor-piercing shells, and that is kill number 4. And that just leaves the 2 enemy carriers, both of which are spotted. 4 kills and only 52,000 damage done. And it's not that he's been kill-stealing here. Well, arguably except the kill on the Koenig, but, well, welcome to Tier 5 battles in World of Warships. I do like showing lower tier battles, and I'd show more of them if I could, because I get a little bit sick and tired of watching Salems and Des Moines and Montanas and Kremlins and, you know, the usual Tier 10 stuff. But it's difficult to find a low tier game that's actually worth watching. Often they're not nearly as entertaining to watch as the people who send them in think they are, and that's perfectly understandable, because usually the people who send them in are very new to the game and they don't actually fully understand what it is that's happening in the battles that they send in. In other cases, it's just people seal clubbing, whether intentionally because they just enjoy seal clubbing, or unintentionally. And there's kill number 5 in the Kraken Unleashed. Unintentionally, to a degree, because they've reset lines of ships in the Naval Training Center and they're having to grind through them again, and so they end up playing the New York here in an effort to get back to Tier 10 and unlock various benefits in the Naval Training Center. Which is what Justdags is doing here, by the way. He's not playing the New York because he just enjoys clubbing Tier 5 noobs. He's doing it to regrind his way back up to the Montana. But even that being the case, and I do get a lot of replays where people are doing exactly this sort of thing, it's not that... I mean, it's kind of funny at first, I suppose. But after a while, watching people seal clubbing lower tiers just kind of gets old very, very quickly, and so something pretty spectacular has to happen to make even this kind of replay worth putting up on YouTube. Can you guess what that pretty spectacular thing is in the case of Justdags here in the USS New York? Some of you have probably already guessed, but if not, I'll give you a little clue. There are 6 ships on each team. Justdags has just scored a Kraken for sinking 5 of them. Justdags is about to do something he's definitely never done before. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do before, and unless we suddenly start getting a lot more battles where there are extremely limited numbers of ships per side, it's unlikely that we're ever going to see anybody do again. 5 kills isn't enough for Justdags. Justdags is going to sink every single ship on the enemy team. And it was still only 62,787 damage. I mean, okay, Kraken Unleashed, high caliber, and First Blood, but he wiped out the entire enemy team. I think 283,000 credits is a bit of a piss-poor reward for what it was that he actually did, but, well, it is what it is. What are you going to do? Justdags didn't have particularly high expectations of success when he logged into this battle and saw that there were only 6 ships per team and 2 on each were carriers. But, well, go and cry to the Texas and see how much sympathy you get about that. So, Justdags, congratulations. Spectacular result. Everyone else, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.